बच्चों, I hope you all are keeping well. I am also very fine and this is your English classroom Excel Learning and मेरा नाम है अभिषेक सौ and I always post English chapters explanation videos on this particular YouTube channel which is I believe very helpful to you all. So today we are going to look into the chapter The Patriot written by Robert Browning. Okay, very nice poem, very fascinating poem. And before starting the poem, as I always suggest to read about the author or read about the poem, poet, which is given on page number 31. Okay, Robert Browning. So at first, read this particular part. Then I am going to the poem with the explanation line by line. So Robert Browning was a famous poet of the Victorian age. Okay, this poem is written in the form of a dramatic monologue. बहुत important term है. Whenever you write the answer of this particular questions from this particular chapter, always use the term dramatic monologue, where a man who is being led to the gallows is recounting his fate. So इस पोइम में हम लोग ये देखेंगे कि एक इंसान है जिसे फांसी के लिए ले जाया जा रहा है, and while he is going or he is heading to the gallows, at that time he is recollecting, he is recounting all his past experiences. The speaker recalls that exactly a year ago he had been led down this very street with crowds of people cheering him and scattering roses in his path. He was a hero being welcomed by the adoring fans. Adoring fans means loving friends. Okay, a year later he has been tired, convicted, and is being led away to be put to death. So in this particular poem we will gauge two phrases. First of all, present time, and second one is the flashback. That means 1 year ago and present time. Okay, a year ago, roses and fame. Today he is left with nothing but shame and death. बहुत important point है, shame and death. A grim reminder that life is uncertain. Really, our life is uncertain, completely uncertain. Yet the poem ends on a note of optimism, Browning's own philosophy that God in his heaven and all is right with the world is the note on which the poem closes. The patriot believes that it is God who will reward him according to his true merit. So in this particular poem, the poem ends with an optimistic note. Okay, though the poem is basically based on the rise and fall or fall of fortune, but then also this poem closes. This poem comes to an end with a positive note that it doesn't matter how people are behaving with us. If you have done good deed, if you are doing good deed, if you keep doing good deed or good work, the God will reward you. Okay, so don't worry about what people are telling about you. Don't worry about what people are behaving, how people are behaving with you. Just you have to keep it in your mind that you have to keep doing good work for the people and for the God. Okay, so now I am getting into the chapter. Please take the book and take a pencil so that you can scribble down on the points. Okay, so total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, total 6 stanzas are there in this particular poem, and each stanza is the chapter of the patriot's life. Each stanza is a chapter of the patriot's life. So पहले क्या हो रहा है देखो कि it was roses all the way. That means the path of the patriot was laden with roses, with myrtle mixed in my path like mad. So myrtle is also kind of flower. Okay, कि ऐसा होता है कि देखना कि आप लोग कहीं जा रहे हो. Okay, आप किसी इन्विटेशन में आप लोग गए हो, किसी रिसेप्शन में आप लोग गए हो, तो वहाँ पे हम लोग को रोज दिया जाता है. तो इसके साथ जो छोटा छोटा फ्लावर टाइप होता है ना, इसे कहते हैं मर्टल. ओके, सो इट वाज रोजेस ऑल द वे विथ मर्टल मिक्स्ड इन माय पाथ लाइक मैड. सो this is the flashback. Okay, this particular incident happened or took place 1 year ago. So when I was coming, I was welcomed nicely. It was a great welcome, it was a grand welcome, and people were through, and the path where I was walking, it was covered with roses and myrtle. the house roof seemed to heave and sway. Heave and sway means bulge and attractive. That means all the people were standing on the roof. All the people were waiting on the roof. Why? Just to have a look to the Patriot. The church spires flamed, such flags they had. So all the churches and were decorated, and they have put such a kind of bright colored flags on the church spires कि देख के लग रहा है कि वहाँ पे जैसे आग लगा है. So just imagine how bright the flags which were put by the people 1 year ago. A year ago on this very day. So right now the people, in the present time, the Patriot is recollecting his past memories, that on the very same day, 1 year ago, when I was welcomed nicely by the people, my path was laden with rose petals and myrtles, and all the people were waiting at the windows, all the people were waiting on their rooftops. All the rooftops seemed to be heave and swell, like they were bulge and attractive, and they have decorated the entire town so nicely, and they put such a kind of bright colored flags on the church spires that it seemed as if the church spires are on flame. And this particular thing happened when? A year ago. So the poem begins with the flashback with the author. Now coming to the second stanza. The year broke into a mist with bells, the old walls rocked with the crowd and cries. So it is seen in Christianity that whenever the Christian people celebrate something, they use bells. Okay, so the poet or the patriot is telling that the sound of the bell was completely mixed up with the year. The old walls rocked with the crowd and cries. That means so many people were there on the house roofs, and they were shouting, they were cheering to the Patriot, that it seemed that all the old walls were rocking. Had I said, good folk, mere noise ripples, but give me your son from yonder sky, they had answered. And afterwards, what else? So at that time, so right now the Patriot is telling that last year on the very same day, the situation was like that, as if I would ask my fellow men, if I would have asked my people that give me the sun from the sky, they would give me the sun, and they would ask me that what else you needed. That means it actually shows that how respectable or how lovable the Patriot was last year on the very same day. So it also gives us a hint that today, on the very same day, something might have happened that has brought the Patriot down. Okay, so that is the reason the Patriot is emphasizing to the point कि last year अगर मैं उन लोगों को कहता कि मुझे वो सन दे दो, वो लोग मुझे वो सन भी दे देता, और उसके बाद they would have asked that और क्या चाहिए तुम्हें. So he does not want scream, he wants to be remembered by the people. This is the main thing, that the Patriot did not want that people should cry or scream for him. Rather, he wanted to be remembered by the people. And one more thing, this particular stanza shows the feelings and the accomplishment of the Patriot. Okay. एक पॉइंट मैंने बताना भूल गया फर्स्ट स्टैंजा पे कि वहां पे फर्स्ट लाइन जो है इट वाज रोजेस एंड रोजेस. सो रोजेस सिग्निफाई लव, रेस्पेक्ट एंड ऑनर. Okay, now third stanza. Alack, it was I who leaped at the sun to give it to my loving friends to keep. Not man could do, have I left undone. And you see my harvest, what I reap this very day. Now a year is run. So in this particular stanza, the poet has brought the Greek mythology, the story of Icarus and Daedalus. I hope you know the story, but then also Daedalus father था और Icarus जो है वो son था. ठीक है, उन दोनों को एक टावर पे बंद करके रखा गया था. Now they had to go out from the tower, but how was it possible? तो क्या किया वहां पे डेडलस ने क्या किया कि उन्होंने बर्ड्स के फेदर से विंग बनाया, ठीक है, अपने लिए 2 विंग्स बनाया और अपने बेटे के लिए 2 विंग्स बनाया एंड दे फ्लू and they fled from the tower. But when they were flying, I mean before flying, Daedalus warned his son that don't go near to the sun. Why? Because the heat of the sun would melt your wax, because all the feathers were connected with the help of or joined with the help of wax. Okay, और ज्यादा नीचे से भी मत जाना क्योंकि समुद्र का जो पानी है उससे तुम्हारा वैक्स भी खुल सकता है. बट क्या हुआ, एक्साइटमेंट में इकारस जो है वो बहुत ऊंचा उड़ने लगा और सन की हीट की वजह से उनका वैक्स जो है वो गल गया और इकारस गिर गया और वो मर गया. सो दिस इज द स्टोरी और ग्रीक mythology. So the same story has been, the same reference has been brought by the poet in this particular stanza. Alas, it was I who leaped at the sun. That means इकारस जो है वो सन की तरफ गया इसीलिए उसका फॉल हुआ. सिमिलरली यहाँ पे अपने आप को कंपेयर कर रहा है वो पैट्रियट इकारस से. Alas, it was I who leaped at the sun to give it to my loving friends to keep. So I leaped at the sun, not man could do have I left under, and you see my harvest and you see what I did for my fellow men and what I am getting today. This very day now a year is run. So 1 साल हो रहा है, तो उस साल मैंने क्या किया था अपने लोगों के लिए और मुझे क्या मिल रहा है. Okay, now coming to the 4th stanza. There is nobody on the housetops now. यानी कि पहला stanza 1, 2, 3 जो है वो पूरा flashback था. What happened just on the very same day a year ago. Now we are coming to the present situation, the present time. There is nobody on the housetops now. Just a palsied few at the window sill. So आज जो है आज फिर से आ रहा है कौन, वो पैट्रियट. बट लाइक लास्ट ईयर ऑल द पीपल वर गैदरिंग, ऑल द पीपल वेर देयर ऑन द रूफ टॉप्स, ओके, स्क्रीमिंग फॉर द पैट्रियट, वेलकमिंग हिम. बट टुडे नॉट अ सिंगल मैन वाज फाउंड ऑन द रूफ टॉप. ओके, सो इट्स अ कॉन्ट्रास्ट विद द लास्ट ईयर. ओनली जस्ट a palsied few at the window sill. Only palsied is a kind of disease where people get paralyzed. Okay, only few people were seen at the window sill. कौन, जो अपना घर का थ्रेशोल्ड जो है क्रॉस नहीं कर सकता. दैट मीन्स द फिजिकली डिफॉर्म्ड और पैरालाइज्ड पीपल, only few paralyzed people were seen at the window sill. For the best of the sight is all allowed at the samples gate, or better yet by the very scaffold foot. I trow means I trust. और samples gate क्या होता है कि जहाँ पे फांसी दिया जाता है वहाँ पे इंटर करने के लिए जो गेट होता है दैट इज कॉल्ड सैम्पलर्स गेट. और स्कैफोल्ड्स फुट जहाँ पे फांसी दिया जाता है. तो आज रूफटॉप में एक भी इंसान नहीं दिख रहा है. ओनली कुछ फिजिकली डिफॉर्म्ड बुजुर्ग जो है बस उन्हीं को देख पा रहा हूं मैं विंडो पे. क्यों? क्योंकि वो लोग अपने घर से निकल नहीं सकते. और क्यों एक भी इंसान आज रूफटॉप पे नहीं है? बिकॉज आज सबसे अच्छा सीन होने वाला है. क्या? कहाँ? फांसी के मंच पे. सो ऑल द पीपल हैव गैदर्ड देयर. सो जस्ट सी द कॉन्ट्रास्ट. लास्ट ईयर ऑन द वेरी सेम डे व्हेन द पैट्रियट वाज कमिंग, ही वाज बीइंग वेलकम्ड grandly. Okay, it was a grand entry. But today when the Patriot is coming, not a single person was there for cheering for the Patriot. Why? Because they all have gathered at the samples gate or at the scaffold foot. Where? Because उनका जो फांसी होगा, पैट्रियट का जो फांसी होगा, वो उन लोगों के लिए सबसे अच्छा एक दृश्य होगा, सबसे अच्छा एक साइट होगा. Now 5th stanza. I go in the rain. So I go in the rain. It shows the depression or the frustration of the patriot more than needs. यानी कि जितना बार जरूरत होता है रेन पे जाने के लिए उतना ज्यादा मैं रेन पे जाता हूँ. A rope cuts both my wrist behind. यानी कि it shows that the hands of the patriot were tied behind him with a stout rope. Okay, and it was so tight. The rope was so tight that it cut his wrist. And I think by the feel my forehead bleeds. और मुझे ये सब फील हो रहा था कि मेरे forehead से bleeding हो रहा है. क्यों? For they flinch. Whoever has a mind stones at me for my years misdeed. यानी कि क्यों पेट्रियट को फील हो रहा है कि उसका फोरहेड से ब्लीडिंग हो रहा है? क्योंकि पीपल वर throwing stones at him. So once again one more contrast that last year when he was coming, at that time his path was laden with what? Rose petals and myrtle, and people were throwing roses at him. But today, in the present time, when he is coming, the people are throwing stones. That means the stones have taken place of the roses. It also a contrast or irony. Now stanza 6. Thus I entered and thus I go. Very nice line. That means thus I entered from at the scaffold's foot and thus I go. Where? To the God. In triumph, people have dropped down the dead. And people would be thinking that they have done a good deed and they would bring down my dead body, paid by the world. And this is the payoff I got from the world. That dost thou owe me? God might question. Now instead it is God shall pay. I am safer so. So what I have done for my country, what I have done for my fellow men, okay, it did not value, it does not value for them. They misunderstood me. और उन लोगों को लगा कि मैंने गलत काम किया है, तो उन लोगों ने मुझे मिसअंडरस्टूड किया, एंड दैट इज द रीजन दे आर बिहेविंग इन सच अ काइंड ऑफ क्रूअल वे विथ मी. सो व्हाट आई हैव डन फॉर माय फेलो पीपल and what I am getting from them. Last year on the very same day they were throwing roses, okay, flowers, and my path was laden with roses. It shows signify love, respect, okay, and honor. और आज जो क्या हुआ है, all the people are throwing stones at me. So this is completely different और मतलब एकदम ऑपोजिट जो साइड है या फिर बिहेवियर है पीपल का. ठीक है, तो क्या मैंने किया और उन सब के लिए, और उन लोगों ने मुझे क्या दिया, बट आई एम नॉट वरीड एट ऑल. व्हाई? बिकॉज आई एम गोइंग टू द गॉड एंड आई नो दैट गॉड विल डेफिनेटली पे मी my reward. So he has extreme belief for God that God will repay him for his good deeds. Okay. So अब ये जो देखो पहला 3 जो स्टैंजर्स है ये क्या है, फ्लैशबैक में है, और स्टैंजा 4, 5, 6 जो है इट्स अनफॉर्चुनेट सेंटेंसिंग एंड द पैट्रियट्स डेथ. ओके, और एक जो पॉइंट है, दिस पोएम हैज अ सेंस ऑफ यूनिवर्सलिटी और टू इट, क्योंकि यही होता है कि आप किसी के लिए अच्छा करोगे तो वो गलत समझ के आपको बुरा भरा बोलेगा. सो दिस इज यूनिवर्सल. ओके, सो द पोएम हैज अ सेंस ऑफ यूनिवर्सलिटी टू इट, एंड द थीम ऑफ द पोएम इज the rise and fall of one's fortune. You just see one thing, guys. Last year he was very famous. Last year he was loved by people, but today he is being hated by the people. So at that time he was having a great fortune, but right now he has no fortune, and the patriot is going to die. But the positive thing is that the patriot is having the faith. Okay, he is an optimist, and he knows that the God will definitely pay him for his good deeds. So this is the complete explanation. कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो तो आप लोग मुझे बोलना. आज बस इतना तक ही. मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो पे with a new chapter. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe and press the bell icon so that you can get regular updates, and please share with your friends. Okay, so tata, bye bye, see you, jai hind.